On November 10, 1975, the Edmund Fitzgerald left Superior, Wisconsin, carrying a full cargo of iron ore, bound for Detroit. The ship was enormous, 729 feet of steel, one of the largest freighters on the Great Lakes. Built to endure harsh storms, it had crossed these waters countless times, earning a reputation for strength and reliability. For the crew of 29 men, this was a routine voyage, a crossing they had done many times before. Experience gave confidence, but confidence can sometimes blind even the most seasoned sailors to danger. By late afternoon, weather reports indicated a storm brewing on Lake Superior. Conditions were worsening faster than forecasts had predicted. Gusts were stronger, waves taller, and the water level unusually high for the season. In other words, the lake was not simply stormy, it was unpredictable, restless, and poised to test the limits of every ship on its surface. The Edmund Fitzgerald pressed on. On board, minor problems began to surface. Pumps worked overtime to handle water entering compartments. Equipment in the engine room struggled under the pressure, and small leaks hinted at the stress the storm was putting on the hull. Captain Ernest McSorley remained calm on the radio, reassuring nearby vessels and giving reports that suggested everything was under control. No distress call was made. In the moment, the situation seemed manageable. The ship had been built for storms, the crew was experienced, and the cargo, iron ore, was routine. Yet there was one warning, a subtle but critical signal from the surrounding environment. Nearby ships radioed reports of waves exceeding 20 feet, of decks awash with water, and of structural strain on other vessels. Mariners experienced on these waters understood the implication. This storm was not ordinary. It was the type that could push even the strongest ship beyond its limits. To many, these warnings might have seemed minor or unnecessary. After all, the Fitzgerald had handled similar conditions before. Confidence, built through routine crossings and past successes, made it easy to underestimate the lake's power. The warning was present, but it was filtered through human perception. In the judgment of Captain McSorley and his officers, the ship could continue, and it did. As night fell, the storm intensified. Waves slammed into the Fitzgerald repeatedly, bending steel, washing over the decks and threatening to flood the holds. Each strike sent vibrations through the massive hull, each one a subtle reminder of the storm's power. The crew worked tirelessly, adjusting equipment, monitoring pumps, and keeping the ship steady. Below deck, water seeped into cargo holds, shifting tons of iron ore, making balance precarious. Even with all this, the critical warning remained unheeded. To alter course or reduce speed would have delayed arrival, perhaps inconvenienced shipping schedules, and challenged the crew's confidence in the ship. Yet the lake was indifferent to these concerns. It does not negotiate or forgive. The storm was not waiting for judgment calls. It was testing every choice in real time. In those hours, subtle decisions became monumental. A hatch cover that might have held under lighter conditions began to fail. Pumps working at full capacity were overwhelmed by waves pounding into the ship. Cargo shifted just enough to stress the hull. The combination of forces, the human, the mechanical, and the natural, was enough to set the stage for disaster. Even in hindsight, the warning that day was not dramatic. It was not a flashing light or a loud alarm. It was the growing storm itself, the reports from nearby ships, the unusual water levels, the sounds of strain echoing through steel. It was a signal to reconsider, to slow, to seek shelter, but it was ignored. The Edmund Fitzgerald continued onward, confident in design, confident in the crew, confident in routine. In those final hours, that single, underestimated warning became monumental. The lake was testing limits, and the ship was crossing the line between human confidence and nature's raw power. As night deepened, Lake Superior became a chaotic living force. Waves struck the Edmund Fitzgerald with relentless power, each impact testing the limits of steel, design, and human endurance. The storm was no longer just severe, it had become extraordinary, a maelstrom capable of overwhelming even the largest freighters on the lake. On board, the crew of 29 men battled against impossible odds. They worked tirelessly, manning pumps, checking hatch covers, adjusting ballast, and monitoring the shifting cargo of iron ore below deck. Yet, despite their experience and training, the ship was under forces it was never designed to fully withstand. The iron ore, dense and heavy, shifted with the rhythm of the waves, altering the ship's balance and placing enormous stress on the hull. Hatch covers, though built to endure rough seas, were compromised by water pounding from above. Pumps were overwhelmed, and water continued to seep into the holds. Every second, the Fitzgerald was edging closer to a breaking point. And then, in the darkness, the unheeded warning became reality. That subtle signal, the reports of unusually high waves, the advice from nearby ships, the strange behavior of the lake itself, manifested as catastrophic structural failure. The exact sequence of events remains uncertain. Some investigators believe a hatch gave way, letting in water that shifted the cargo and destabilized the ship. Others point to structural fatigue or the possibility of a combination of failures cascading at once. What is certain is that in a matter of minutes, the great ship went from confident passage to disaster. No distress call was sent. In the chaos of those final moments, the crew may have been struggling simply to survive. Outside, Lake Superior continued to roar, indifferent to human lives or human ambition. The Fitzgerald sank without a trace of communication, leaving the surrounding vessels to radio desperately for any sign of life. There was none. The next morning, the aftermath was grim. Rescue crews found only debris, scattered equipment, and floating personal items. Weeks later, dives revealed the Edmund Fitzgerald broken into two massive sections on the lake bed, lying silently at depths exceeding 500 feet. The lake had claimed both ship and crew. For the families, the shipping community, and all who witnessed the tragedy was absolute. But beyond the horror, there is insight. The one warning that had been underestimated, the recommendation to slow down, reroute, or seek shelter, was subtle yet profound. It was not dramatic, it was not a blaring alarm. It was a small signal, easy to dismiss amid routine, confidence, and schedules. Yet, in the context of human decision-making under stress, it became monumental. Experience and knowledge are vital, but they are not infallible. Confidence, when unchecked by caution, can amplify danger. Analysis after the tragedy revealed more layers of risk. The Fitzgerald's design, though robust, had vulnerabilities under extreme conditions. High waves, shifting cargo, waterlogged compartments, and compromised hatch covers created a perfect storm. Combined with unusually high water levels in Lake Superior that season, the situation was far more dangerous than any normal crossing. The warning was there, the signals were present, but human perception, shaped by past success and routine, failed to fully recognize the stakes. The story of the Edmund Fitzgerald resonates far beyond maritime history. It is a story about human judgment and nature's unpredictability, about the subtle signals that precede catastrophe, and about the choices we make under pressure. Warnings are rarely dramatic. They are small, quiet, and easy to ignore. Yet ignoring them, even unintentionally, can have consequences beyond imagination. The Fitzgerald sinking reminds us that survival is not solely determined by strength or skill. It is also determined by listening, observing, and acting on subtle cues before it is too late. The lake does not forgive miscalculations, and experience alone cannot replace humility in the face of nature's power. Even today, the Edmund Fitzgerald rests silently beneath Lake Superior's icy surface, yet its story continues to echo, a cautionary tale about the importance of heeding warnings, the limits of human confidence, and the profound consequences of a single underestimated signal. The one warning that night, the one suggestion to change course or slow down, was minor in appearance but monumental in outcome. It changed 29 lives forever, and serves as a stark reminder. Subtle warnings are often the most important, and the cost of ignoring them can be absolute. Do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more.